All right, Jacob. 49 years ago today, the greatest kicker in the game, Adam Vinatieri, was born. What do you think?
You know, many could argue without Adam Vinatieri, maybe Brady isn't who he is. So I think he's the greatest kicker of all time. Maybe the second greatest behind the great Sebastian Jankowski, but
Oh, you have me there. Leading score NFL scorer in the league, I believe.
something
But
like that. GOAT for sure.
well, hello guys. Welcome to the Lowing Brothers podcast, where today we talk about some college football playoff formats, players opting out of bowl games, some NFL officiating, some games that happened this weekend, and NBA talking about kind of Ben Simmons and where maybe he should go or what should be happening in that situation. But to start off today, we're going to be talking about the college football playoff format and maybe what we both think it should look like. Like I said, as of right now, as we know, it's a 4-team playoff. A committee picks 1, 2, 3, 4. They set it up, and that's how it is. It changed from the BCS previous from that. Um, there is talks right now of them changing the format. So I think just to dive in right away, Jacob, what's your output of what you think the college football playoff should look like?
Yeah, I changed my decision on what I want the college football playoffs to look like. It feels like daily, but today I've kind of decided that I like a 12-team format. I used to be a 16-team guy, but I've listened to Joel Klatt talk a lot lately, and I kind of agree with him. I like the idea of making it 12 teams so you incentivize those big games at the end of the year because the top four teams get buys. Because I mean, with Georgia and with Georgia and Alabama playing this year, that game mattered. Can you imagine if, regardless of both of them knowing that they were going, whether win or loss, making the playoffs, you might sit a guy or two because that seeding doesn't matter quite as much. But when you make the top four seeds matter, locking up one of those seeds gives you a bye. I like 12 teams for that reason. I also like giving six automatic bids to conference champions. So that gives us the Power Five and then the best group of five conference champion. You could argue that in any given year, maybe the best group of five champion is only like a 24, 23 rank, but I like the idea of giving one of those little guys a chance, make them the 12, make them play the best team, make them play number 5 and just give them a shot. So I like the idea of doing 6 and it's not 5 Power Five and then one group of five. It's 6 total. So maybe 2 group of 5 teams outperform one of the Power Five teams, and I'm okay with that. So I want 6 automatic bids from conference champs. And here's how I want the seeding to be decided. I want there to be 4 polls. I want the college football playoff committee to stay. I hate them, but I want them to stay. I want the AP poll to factor in. I want the coaches poll to factor in. And I also want a computer poll. And I want them to all be factored in 25, 25, 25, 25%. And then I want them to average, and then I want that to be the final rankings. I really don't like the idea of a committee of 12 athletic directors who work for the schools that they're seeding to decide who makes the playoffs. That doesn't make any sense to me. I think there's major bias there, and I wonder if they know what they're doing, no more than I do. But like I said, I'd like to see the sports writers who are watching and covering all these teams, the coaches who are coaching these teams who probably know more than anyone else, but there's also major bias because, they're the coaches. And then I want a completely unbiased thing, kind of like the BCS used to do. They can even use the same formula. I don't care. But that's how I would like the seedings to be determined. So I want 12 teams. I want 6 automatic bids for conference champs, and then I want that four tier method to be used to determine seeding. That's how my ideal playoff looks.
Okay. Um, I agree with you. I'm not going to get into the whole how they should be picked. I'll let smarter people beyond me decide how to pick that. um, I do agree. I think it should be 12. I, in my opinion, I don't think anyone outside of number 12 could compete. And there's probably years you could. I mean, you can argue some teams can maybe upset here and there, but I feel like there's always. I think 12 teams is the best way. And like I said, I like to reward the top 4 teams in the nation to get a bye. I think it makes, like you said, it makes it more competitive at the end of the year. Um, I makes it more competitive. Makes some games like maybe say Ohio State, Michigan at the end of the year makes the game more important because you can say if they put 12 teams, I mean, there's different ways. You might have to take a game on the regular season, maybe shut down conference championship games. I who knows? But I think just makes big games at the end of the season more important. I disagree with you on a non-Power 5 team or a group of 5 to get an automatic bid. I think the Power 5 should get an automatic bid. After that, I don't think you need to give a conference champion to non or one of the group of 5. I feel like year in and year out, we always see a non-Power 5 team always in the top 16. You don't always do, but I feel like more often than not, we always just see at least one of those teams in there. So I feel like it's not going to be like right now where Cincinnati's the first non-Power 5 team not to finally make it into the college football playoffs. I feel like even with 12 teams, I might have said 16 prior to that. My bad. But in the top 12, if you had 12, I believe you usually do see. I mean, you've had Cincinnati this year. Cincinnati was last year. UCF the previous couple years. I mean, you can always look even back to probably Boise State those years. I mean, I feel like there's always at least one non-Power 5 team that would crack the top 12 to make it into that. So I just think that there should only be five automatic bids, and after that, pick your next 7. And I truly believe in that next 7, almost every single year, you're going to have a non-Power 5 team in there. In my opinion, that's all I'm going to go into. I think it should be 12 teams, 5 automatic bids with Power 5 teams, and after that, I just think pick the next 7 and roll with it.
I don't have a huge problem with that. I just like giving a Power 5 team. I mean, getting a G5 team an automatic bid because I want to see one in there every year. Not saying they'll be competitive. We know that the 14, 15, and 16 seeds in March Madness aren't going to be competitive, but it's about that every once in a while where they do win a game that makes it really special and fun, right? It's not nearly as special and fun when, I mean, granted, UCLA last year making it deep was fun, but it was way more fun to watch Oral Roberts win 2 games than it was to watch UCLA go to the Final Four. It's about guaranteeing the little guy a chance to succeed because I don't think they get a chance to succeed in college football right now.
No, I agree with you. The only way I would say that I think that give a group of 5 team an automatic bid is if it went to 16, which I don't want to be a 16. But because at that point, I don't know. I feel like at that point you can do that. I just feel like.
But if you did 14 teams and you have the top 2 a bye, would you be willing to give a G5 team an automatic bid?
I don't even want to talk about that because if it wasn't 12, I'd rather prefer 16 than 14. I think 14's stupid. I think you should give the top 4 teams a bye to start off the playoffs. I don't think you should give the top 2 one. So I'm not gonna go into that. I just think 12, Power 5, whatever. I don't know what the next playoff format's gonna go into. I hope it's at least 8. I hope it doesn't go to 6. Like, I hope it's not this process where we have to go to 6 and then 8 and then 12 and then maybe it stops at 12 or whatnot. I hope we just make a big jump to 12 or 8 or.
They should 16. Go straight to 12. Honestly, I don't want to waste time and go to 8. If they go to 8, that's stupid. Like, it's better than 4 teams, but like just make it the best system now instead of easing into it like that. Like it'd be so stupid to go to 8.
Yeah, no. Well, like I said, I agree, but I mean, it would still be better, in my opinion.
It's better, but I'd still be mad that they're not doing what's best in the name of, I don't even know what in the name of, because I think we all know more teams is better to a certain extent.
Yeah, because I mean,
better for the fans, you get more games.
And this is just the AP poll, clearly, but like, this would be the 12 team if it was 12 teams. Clearly, you have Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, Cincinnati. Then you have Notre Dame, Baylor, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Oklahoma State, Utah, Michigan State, and BYU. That's according to the AP poll. But like, I just think that makes it a lot more interesting because if you ask me, and even Oklahoma's 14 and Oregon, Pittsburgh, like they're 13, 14, 15, whatnot. In my opinion, no, I'm not saying they might not beat Alabama or upset, but I feel like some of those teams could possibly compete and maybe win a couple games. I'm not saying they would win it, but that's why I like seeing more teams. I feel like some of those teams could mix it up and have a chance. And maybe not every year, but some of these 10-3 teams that are ranked 10th, they might have had an injury or something a quarterback is injured for a couple games in the middle of the season and they lost a game or two while their quarterback was injured or nowadays COVID and could have affected their season, then they might be a better team. But with injuries and stuff, they might not be as good. And by the end of the season, might have players that come back that help their team out that can compete.
Yeah, that's what Alex was talking about Utah last week, saying they're the 5th best team in the country, which was, in my opinion, slightly ludicrous. But
yeah, that was yeah, I think that was a load of crap right there. But he's got his opinion.
I mean, he made good points. I'm not here to talk crap about him behind his back.
Yeah, but like I said, I just think it with more teams. Again, clearly, I don't think 16 because I just think it gets to be too much. I think 12 is perfect in my opinion because I think like you said, it rewards teams to try to get off a bye, try to be one of those top 4 teams to get a bye into it, and in that situation, and I'm not gonna lie, we always argue about who should be number 4 right now. Like we'd be like, oh, there could be this year is pretty easy, but like past years it's like, oh, this team. You could argue for like 3 different teams to be number 4, or even 4 teams to be 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, and that won't change with 12 because then we're gonna argue over number 14 should be number 12. But I'd rather have that argument than the argument we're having now.
No, that's what I'm saying. But like, that's my point. I think we're gonna all be over number 12 because say they went to 12. There's how many teams that have 2 losses or 3 losses and at that point you could be arguing that it is a 10-3 Oregon team better than a 12-1 Louisiana Lafayette team. Like that's going to be the argument now. Is just
regardless where you draw the line, there's going to be problems. But
at that point, you're probably not arguing wins and losses. You probably are when you get that far back, you're probably just looking at them, being like, okay, who's the better team? You're probably not getting into it as technical things as 1 through 4 as we do nowadays, but
yeah, that definitely a better problem to have for sure.
Yeah, but talking about Alex's just absolutely horrendous pick of Utah being number 5, let's move on to talk about Utah-Ohio State Rose Bowl game. And just the main opt-outs that we've seen so far is Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson opting out of the Rose Bowl. So, Jacob, 2 questions. How do you think that game plays out now? And what's your opinion on players skipping bowl games to prepare for the NFL draft?
Before this, I had Ohio State winning this game, but I'm kind of teeter-tottering here because Ohio State's still very good. But without those 2 guys, I'm not sure I think C.J. Stroud is all that good without 3 first-round picks, throwing the ball too. So I'm going to take Utah now. I'm saying that right now. I'm going to take Utah now just because I'm not all that confident in C.J. Stroud. As I said, and like Alex pointed out, Utah is playing well. When it comes to players skipping out on bowl games, this is kind of something I've changed my mind on in the last couple years. I used to not like it because as a fan, you want to see those guys play. Then I realized that's kind of selfish of me. These guys are really just looking out for themselves, and I will never fault anyone, for trying to make the best decision for themselves. You can make the argument that they're not being team players, but do you want something to happen like Jake Butt and Terry ACL in the bowl game? In a bowl game that doesn't really matter. If you're going to skip the college football playoff, then, I have something to say. But with these bowls that are essentially just a way so you can get one more game in and play a big game at the end of the year, I don't really have a problem with it, honestly. Like I'm not going to fault these guys for looking out for themselves and, trying to make sure that their stock stays where it is. I mean, for a lot of these guys, Olave and Wilson don't have anything to prove. They're going to go, one of them is going to go top 20, the other one will go top 25. And I don't think a big bowl game is going to change that any. So I think they're just making, a personal decision. I don't have a problem with it. I personally would play, but like I said, I'm not going to hold it against these guys for not playing.
Yeah, no, I want to come out and say I think Ohio State's still going to go in there and win. It's tough. I mean, I think it'll be a closer game because I thought Ohio State I thought they're gonna win by a couple touchdowns or whatnot to start when everyone's playing. But I think this is an opportunity to see some of these, because they have Olave and Wilson, they're big names, but Ohio State has wide receivers that have came up from the years from the past recruiting classes that are supposed to be dudes. Like last year, I'm gonna butcher this guy's name, but Amika Ejabuka, I don't know what the hell, however you say his name, but he is a freshman that came into Ohio State this year, the number one wide receiver in the nation last year, according to recruiting class, the classes. So like this guy hasn't seen much on the field. I just think they have a lot of good wide receivers underneath him that have been ranked high in the rankings that I think we'll be able to see if. And I understand Wilson and Olave are dudes, but I think they have dudes that are coming up. I think we'll have a good look into what Ohio State's going to look like next year by watching this game, having some of these players come up and play. Going on to about people not playing in bowl games, I know you've changed. I've always been the thought of I like it because one game, if Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, I think if they have a really great bowl game, I don't think it changes if they get drafted higher or lower, in my opinion. Maybe a pick or two. I think right now what they've played they've been in Ohio State for how many years? Like I think people know what to expect, what they know of them. I don't think one bad game or one really good game will change much for them. So why risk getting injured that last game? And in my opinion, I think them leaving and anybody else and I should say, if you're going to be drafted in the first round, especially, I say, why would you play? I understand, like you said, for the team, but like if you're expected to be drafted in the first round, why would you? I don't think if you're going to be like a third or fourth round pick or something like that, and you say I'm not going to play, at that point maybe I'm considering like why wouldn't you play? I mean, maybe for those types of players, maybe a really good bowl game against a good team could change their draft stock, but then again, a really bad game could do the same thing. But especially for these first round draft picks, and like I said, I've been looking. Wilson projected to go like top 15. Olave's top 20. Maybe they're both expected to go first round, so I don't blame them at all for leaving to go play. To not play, to go straight to the draft.
Yeah, like I said, I personally, as a fan, I want to see these guys play, but I won't judge them for, making a decision that is best for their long-term goals. As a selfish person myself, I don't blame anyone else for being a little selfish every once in a while. I don't blame any coach for chasing bags. I don't blame any athletes for chasing bags. We're all just trying to do what's best for our families, 10 generations from now. So whatever these guys think is best for them, I'm not going to fault them on those decisions. Like I said, if it was a huge deal, the coaches ever make a big deal out of it, because I think these coaches know that they're just making the best decision that they think they can make for themselves, and they don't have a problem with it either. So I don't know why I should.
Yeah, no. Like I said, and that's the thing. They're doing the best for themselves, and they have dudes that are underneath them that I'm pretty sure. I think we'll have a great look into what Ohio State will look like to see. And they're a young team.
Hopefully it's ugly.
And hopefully it's very impressive to my. Well, I don't know this, but they had a lot of great. They're a young team, like defensively. They got the number 2 D lineman in the nation last year. They got the number 1 inside linebacker number 1 running back, Trayvon Henderson. Like they got a lot of dudes. Last year, Jacob, granted the number 1 Quinn Edwards, whatever, he's leaving to go back to Texas, but they got 4 of the top 10 players in the nation last year on their team.
They'll be talented, and
they're a very young team right now, and I think next year, looking forward, I think it'll be good. I know we're talking about Ohio State, but you know me with Ohio State, I gotta show them love, and I gotta talk about them when I can. Since my little disappointing season, 10-2 Ohio State disappointing season.
I wish I could say the same.
Say what's that like, Jacob?
I wish I could also say that a quarterback who finished 3rd in the Heisman was our worst quarterback we've had in the last 5.
Yeah, no, isn't that crazy? That, and that's the thing. I like you said, with these wide receivers being dudes on their team, I think we'll see next year if the wide receivers coming up are dudes, or maybe C.J. Stroud. Well, I think we'll learn a lot about Ohio State this game and early next season. But moving forward, talking about people leaving and going to the NFL draft, let's talk about Ben Simmons in the NBA. He's been sitting out for this whole season from their playoff run last year. A lot of people putting a lot of blame on Ben Simmons. He hasn't been playing at all. I don't know where to start with this, Jacob, with talking about Ben Simmons with you, but what do you think about the Ben Simmons situation necessarily, and do you think they should trade him? And if you think so, like where to, or like where do you think the best fit, or what's your overall opinion on the situation?
They need to shop him. And I think they're asking for too much. I don't know what they're asking for, but the fact they haven't struck a deal so far tells me that they're asking for too much for him. At this point, if you could just get him off your roster, get a good role player, and then clear up your salary cap so you can sign a guy next season, that would be fine. They're not having a great year this year. They're already playing without him. They might as well find someone who can replace him, get some good minutes, maybe find a younger guy, maybe get a pick or two for him, move on, and then just essentially just trade him for the cap space. I mean, I just don't see what good keeping him on the roster and trying to be aggressive in the trade market is doing you at this point. And it's clearly not working. I mean, Joel Embiid has voiced his discontent with his relationship with Ben Simmons and how he is as a basketball player. So it's not going to work there. So they got to shop him. They got to shop him now. And I think they need to lower the price.
What about Joel Embiid? He just talked about his frustration with him and then towards the end of the season and stuff like that, he starts talking him up. He's like, oh, he's not to blame. Like, he's a great player. I hope he comes back. How about him trying to be the manager for the 76ers there, trying to be like, oh, we want him gone, but I'm going to talk about him, be like, it's not his fault. He's a good player. Trying to make his worth try to make his worth bigger. Try to be like, hey, he's not bad, guys. Come take him. Joel Embiid, like, after coming out and just kind of almost putting the blame to him, and then just seems like he's just taking it off. I think they should go away with him too as well. I don't know. In my opinion, I think they should trade him to the Nets for Kyrie Irving. I think the Nets are a good fit for him. I think getting Kyrie off that team is great for the Nets. I don't know how the trade happens. I don't know what the asking price is for Ben Simmons or not, but I think that'd be a great fit. Put Ben Simmons on the Nets. He doesn't need to score. Unlike the 76ers, there have been times they think he needs to score, put the ball in the hoop. The Nets, he's got not Kyrie, Harden and Durant on his team. He's a great point guard, great defender. I think that fits well with him. Just let him distribute the ball to where it needs to go, and great fit right there, in my opinion. I just think it's been a whole mess. Ben Simmons and Kyrie, maybe just, I don't know the COVID rules in Philadelphia are here and there in different places. They're presuming they're all probably close to the same, but I think just trade them, get them away, and just move on.
Yeah, I think they both need to move off him, but I have a tough time seeing that happening because, like I said, I'm not sure Kyrie Irving is someone that the Sixers want with everything that's happened. He might be a good fit because, the Sixers play good deep and they need someone that can score. But I'm like I said, I think one of the appealing things about trading Simmons is just getting rid of the cap and maybe having a little more leeway with who you're signing next year in the summer.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you there. Yeah, I don't know. I really have nothing much more to say. I just think for Simmons the best fit is at the Nets.
I think that's a great fit. Honestly, if you could get him to the Nets and not have to and not get Kyrie back, and honestly not ask for much, and then like I think they need to get a three-team deal going on. They need to get Ben Simmons to the Nets. The Nets need to get rid of Kyrie and send him somewhere else, and then whoever that third team is can include whoever, send them to the Sixers, and everyone can wash their hands of whatever. Someone gets Kyrie, the Nets get a great fit with Ben Simmons. They get someone who can actually play some defense and a little bit of and some size. So I think that would be a good way to work it out. But I mean, we all know we can all play armchair GM all day. but we'll see where he goes if he goes.
Yeah, it's easier to talk about it in our seats than the other people.
All right, I think that's probably enough NBA for the day. We can transition into a little more football here, and we can talk about a little bit of officiating in the NFL. There's been a lot of, let's say, controversy for the last probably 10 years about the officiating in the NFL. I mean, we had the replacement refs with the Fail Mary. But, I don't know how many years ago that was, but that was a while ago. That was a Golden Tate played for the Seahawks. And then you had a couple years ago with a botched pass interference call costing the Saints a game in the playoffs. And then last week when the Seattle played and a botched pass interference call against the Rams, cost them down the stretch. I mean, it just kind of has me thinking a little bit on how can we improve how we officiate the NFL?
Can I just want to ask a quick question on you here before you dive deep in, because I'm going to let you take over on this officiating stuff of what you think. So clearly the Rams Saints was the big pass interference call. They brought in pass interference into reviewing, and now they took it away. And then it was last week there was, I can't remember what game it was, that there was another pass interference. It might have been the Seahawks game.
Probably.
Was that? Yeah. There was a PI call that probably, it was the Seahawks game. Like, there was a PI call that probably should have been called. But granted, the Seahawks were down by a touchdown, but it loses them the chance to, if that's reviewed, it probably gets overturned. Before you go into officiating, and I'm just going to ask you this one question, then you can go into whatever tangent you want, because I'm going to let you take over on this. Do you think it should be reviewable pass interference or not?
I think, okay, in the current system, I think everything should be reviewable. Like, I think
no.
Like, here's the deal: you don't change the amount of challenges, so the game's not going to take any longer than it normally would. Like, I want you to be able to review everything. If not everything, stuff that is like clearly, like an objective call. Like I want you to be able to look at and I know the reason they took it away is because pass interference calls, hardly ever got overruled that year. But the few that did, normally matter, and it's about getting those few right. Like, I don't see why we should take away the rule because it's not being used successfully. Like I don't like that, but I don't like the current system.
Okay. When you say review everything, you saying even the booth, like the officials, like they can come and they can review anything, or you're just saying the coaches can throw the flag in at any point and they can say, I want to review this call on this play?
I don't want the booth to be able to review. Like, I want the booth to just be able to view what it does now. Basic stuff like where the ball is placed. Is it a catch? Is it not a catch? Touchdown, no touchdown. Basic stuff like that. I want stuff like pass interference to only be challengeable. Like, I want you to be able to throw a challenge flag on a hold, on a defensive hold, an offensive hold on the line. I want you to be able to throw a flag on like, how many of those roughing the passers calls do you think would get overruled if you could throw a flag on them? Because some of them are ridiculous.
You know what, brother? You saying that, I actually love what you just said there. I haven't really put my thought onto it, but what you just said there, I love it. Give the refs there's just same normal things of the simple stuff, and then coaches can throw a flag on anything they want. I honestly, I love that. Now I'm gonna shut up now. I'm gonna let you take over, however you want to go.
Like, I want you to be able to throw your red flag. And the thing is, you still only get your 2 challenges, so you can't just be throwing your flags all game long because you think your defensive tackle got held. Like, I don't want that to be happening, but I want you to be able to throw a flag to be like, hey, it was 3rd and 10 and they just had a 40-yard play, but I know my defensive end got held. I want you to be able to throw a flag on that. Throw your challenge flag out. Like, I want you to be able to throw your challenge flag out, on pass interference. I want you to be able to throw your challenge flag out on a stupid roughing the passer penalty. Like I want you to be able to throw your flag out for anything like that. Like I said, it shouldn't make the games last much longer, and I'd rather have the games last an extra 5 minutes and be able to challenge that stuff than get the game going because you make a crappy thing. But an alternative to that, which is something that I've seen a little bit of, but I think needs more traction, is I think there needs to be a couple of sky refs.
Okay.
There needs to be a couple refs sitting up in the booth, watching the games. And like every time a ref, throws a flag, I want them to ping up to the booth and say, "Hey, I got a hold on 67." It'll take 5 seconds, and then the booth rings down and said, "You're good," and then they go out and they call it. Like I said, it won't take any extra time because they have to get up and because every time they throw a flag, they get up and huddle for 10 seconds anyway.
See, here's the thing. I don't like that.
Or like on like that pass interference call, like the skybox refs can buzz down and go, "Hey, yeah, you missed a." And like I said, I don't want them to be overruling every single time if it's little, but I want a sky ref to be able to beam down on something obvious like that and go, "Hey, you missed this. Call that."
No, see, I don't like that. I like everything you said up until that point, and my point is that like I think it just takes it's that stuff's part of the game. We can get talking later about electronic umps in baseball. Like, I just think that's just the call. It's just the call the refs make. I don't think they should have to make a call and every time have to report up or over here and be like, "Yep, that's the right call. Go make the call."
Well, I don't think.
So just my point is, so say they throws flag for holding, and up in they go to the sky the thing, and they're just like, "Nope, that's not holding." So then they stop the play anyways, and just to say, "Oh, there's no holding on the play. Sorry, whatever." I don't like that.
Oh, see, and like, here's the thing is, I get that mistakes are part of the game, but I don't want, and like I said, like, it would only be if it was clear and obvious. I mean, like, the sky refs aren't gonna watch replays from 30 different angles. Like I said, like they'll, like, they're watching the play, they're watching the replays, and like I said, if it's not obvious that something is wrong, they won't do anything. No, like I don't. Like I said, like I don't want them to have to beam up every single time. Like I said, on something like a false start, they're not going to stop. But like I said, like how many holds do you call in a game? 6 or 7? Like it's not going to slow the game down all that much.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but I don't. I like your point where you can coaches can throw a challenge flag on whatever they want, literally anything they want.
Yeah.
I like that part, but the whole. I don't like the sky refs. I just think that whatever the call in the field is a call in the field, and at the end of the game, if the coach has a challenge flag and there's a holding call or roughing the passer call they don't like, they can throw that. In general, I like that. Plain and simple, just leave it at that. But
I would be okay with either or. I think I'd rather see the sky refs because I think that's a cool concept. But
yeah, well, who knows where we'll be 10 years in the future right now about officiating or whatnot. But
I mean,
speaking about, like I said, I don't know, in my opinion. But speaking about officiating kind of games, the Seahawks kind of whatever last week, let's talk about Russell Wilson. The Seahawks lost this week to the Bears. The Bears went for 2 at the end of the game. I think it was a great decision. I think Nagy's just trying to save his job, honestly, going for 2 like that. I think he's gone after the season no matter what anyways.
I mean, if you have 4 wins, why not? If you don't get it, you get a better draft pick. If you do, you win.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's a win-win. Like, just like, be aggressive and have fun.
Yeah, I know. I like that decision, but... So the Seahawks lose again. Jacob, I know you're a Seahawks fan and whatnot. What do you think... What do you think the future is for the Seahawks and Russell Wilson? Does Russell Wilson stay with the Seahawks next season, or is he gone?
I would like to see Russell Wilson stay, but honestly, every game, I wonder if he's the right fit for this team. I never thought I'd say that even going to this year. Like last year, when the trade rumors were happening, I was just depressed every day because I never wanted to lose him. He's my favorite football player. He's been Seattle's quarterback. Since I don't know for 8 or 9 years. That's a third of my life. Like Russell Wilson is all I know. As it was Matt Hasselbeck, a weird stint there with Tavares Jackson, and then Russell Wilson. I mean, it's. But my problem is every week. I mean, you see. I mean, he has a complete blindfold on when it comes to he won't throw short routes, which I think is why the offensive line has looked so bad over the last few years. Is because he sits in the pocket for way too long and he runs around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to find the big throw, because that's what he's best at. He's best at making the big throw, but I think he sits around for too long. He won't throw it to his check downs. and you see this every week on Reddit. I love using Reddit as a source, but I mean, people tweet, not tweet, they'll post stuff from Twitter, with all the open receivers he's missing on those short to intermediate routes because he just won't throw them. And I don't know if that's a system problem. Like I said, I don't think Seattle has ever ran a system beneficial to Russell Wilson except for his first couple years when he was young and they had Lynch. But after Lynch was gone and the line wasn't as good, their offense hasn't been as modern as it needs to be. I'd still like, here's the thing, I'd rather him stay and have them be able to figure out the offense. I'd like to see Russell Wilson hit those shorter routes like Drew Brees did. Like a lot of people are like, well, Russell Wilson can't throw the short routes. He's short. So was Drew Brees, and Drew Brees broke records on throwing quick slants to Michael Thomas, and then when they overcover those, he go long. It works, but like I said, Russell Wilson just kind of refuses to make those easy throws, and it gets a little frustrating after a few years of that. And like I said, I don't know if that's his fault. I don't know if I don't know if he knows that he's missing those or if he's just blind to them or not. But like I said, honestly, I'd still be upset if he left. But at this point, if we could get 3 or 4 draft picks and get a younger quarterback, maybe fit the system better, I don't think I'd complain. I'd hate to see him go because I love him. He's been a Go Hawks guy since he showed up. It really would be a shame to see him go, but we got our 10 years out of him at the same time.
Well, so where do you think? Don't put this in your Seahawks like, oh, this would be a good place because we could give this guy. Just for Russell Wilson, where do you think the best fit for him is?
I see a lot of people saying the Saints, but there'd be the same problem there. The Saints are kind of a short pass, dink and dunk, throw it to Kamara type of team, and so I don't really think he'd work there. I'm not really sure where he'd work. Honestly, maybe the Packers. The Packers, maybe. I'm thinking I'd say the Bears, but I don't know why the Bears would. They pretty much have a younger Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I don't think they need to move off of Fields anytime soon.
Well, brother, here's where I'll give you an opinion because I actually have an opinion on this one, and the whole inside of what Russell Wilson is as a player and him and the Seahawks, I don't know. And maybe you might disagree with me here. I don't know. I think a good fit for Russell Wilson is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and let me tell you why. Okay, I just feel like it's kind of the same, almost the same system. Ben Roethlisberger, he's out. He should have been gone like 3 years ago. In my opinion.
He's terrible.
Like he should have been gone. I don't know how long ago, and he kept coming back and coming back. So Steelers have this amazing defense. They have a great defense. T.J. Watt, who's just outstanding. Like he's a dude on the defense end. The Steelers defense, granted, I know the Chiefs, what they just did to them, but that's the Chiefs. Whatever. But the Steelers have a solid defense, and they have a solid running game with Najee Harris. Does that sound familiar, Jacob, with the Seahawks? With having beast mode as a running back and then having a strong defense? As a quarterback, when you have a strong running game and a good defense, it puts a lot less pressure on the quarterback. And I know the Seahawks don't have just ungodly wide receivers, but the Seahawks, I don't necessarily think they had ungodly wide receivers in their 2-3 year reign there. They got Chase Claypool. God, freaking TikTok star, what's his nuts?
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Juju Smith, I hate that guy, but he's decent guy. He has people around him to throw the ball to. In my opinion, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a great fit for Russell Wilson. Just based off the said, good defense. They have a running game with Najee Harris. Najee Harris is a good running back. The thing is, their offensive line needs a little bit of readjustment and work on for the Steelers. But I in my opinion, that's what I'm gonna give you. I know you don't know, but I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a good fit for him. And you might not even thought of that, or maybe you wouldn't even think about. I didn't even think about.
I didn't either, honestly.
I know people think about the Bears and the Saints and whatnot, but the Steelers, that's in my opinion. I just think the Steelers, because I think Big Ben, I think he's come out and said that he's done after this year, and I just think with that defense, a running game like that, you have decent wide receivers. Clearly, they're not and also Mike Tomlin. You got Mike Tomlin, who's clearly just been he's one of the best coaches in the league. I think you put that all together, I think it's a great fit for him, and I think the Steelers turn around pretty quickly with Russell Wilson on this team.
Yeah. And the question would be is, the most important question is, who does Russell Wilson think is the best fit? Because they can't trade him anywhere without his permission because of his no trade clause.
Yeah.
So, like I said, he needs to want to go where you send. Well, like I said, and honestly, I don't think Russell Wilson wants to go. But I mean, I think both parties, the front office and Russell Wilson have kind of came to the conclusion that there might be better fits elsewhere, and maybe Seattle's better off just moving on and trying to rebuild, because I don't see how the roster right now can be successful.
Yeah, well, Seahawks have slowly gone downhill since not running the ball in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, outside of, in the last 20 years, the only team with more winning seasons is the Patriots. So I mean, if we have a down season, I'm not going to complain. I've been relatively spoiled in my lifetime as a Seahawks fan. So if they're going to be down, I mean, they were pretty down for 4 or 5 years there when I was younger, and then after they got Russell Wilson, it all turned around. So maybe they just need to do that again and just kind of restart.
Yeah, I know. And supposedly this offseason when he did supposedly request a trade, one of his 4 teams that he said were the Dallas Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Chicago Bears. So those are the 4 teams supposedly. I mean, he came out later saying like, "Oh, I didn't request no trade," or whatever the whole situation was.
Well, I think
there,
he requested trade, but I think he said, "If you're going to trade me, I won't waive my no trade clause unless it's to these teams. So don't even bother."
Yeah, and like I said, Russell Wilson, clearly the Cowboys aren't taking him. I mean, why? Maybe if they could get a straight trade for Dak for Russell Wilson, I mean, you love to see it, but why would the Cowboys trade Dak? And
like I said, I'm not even sure at this point that Russell Wilson's a better quarterback than Dak. Last year I would have said Russell Wilson's a top 3 quarterback in the league, but he's really slowed down at the end of last year. And it's just because of that deep pass tendency. I mean, teams figure out if you just keep a safety over top and keep him from going long to Lockett or DK, like what else is he going to do?
Yeah, well, I think part of that reason is, Jacob, I don't think Seahawks running game has been as it's been, and that's my point.
Well, it's injury ridden. When Chris Carson is good, they're good, and outside of that, they've flopped on a bunch of running backs that haven't worked out. So,
well, yeah, but I'm saying, as we all know, when you have a great running game, the passing game opens up a lot more because you can do a lot more things when you can run the ball well. And I just think if he finds a team that can run the ball well and play defense, I think he has a good fit. And like I said, I highly doubt it. I don't think we're going to see Russell Wilson with the Steelers. I honestly hope not, because I honestly don't like the Steelers. But
I don't. I still have a vendetta against them from when they beat the Seahawks back in the Super Bowl in like 2005.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I think that's a good fit for him. I don't know, but I guess we'll see looking forward of what happens with him. I think if you had to give me, is he gone or not? What are you gonna give me? Because if I think he's gone next season. I don't think he's with the Seahawks next season.
I think there's about a 55% chance that he leaves. I think it's super teeter-totter right now.
I can't believe you're even that right now. I think he's gone. I don't even think there's a question about it. I just think for how the season has gone, I think he wants to be a Seahawks, and I think the Seahawks want him. But like I think they're both going to realize it's just time that they both go their own separate ways, and Russell starts somewhere else, and the Seahawks try to start over again.
I said, I mean, and I don't think there'd be any hard feelings on either side. I just think it's a difference in ideology and system and fit. And like I said, they've had 9 good seasons of Russell Wilson, including 2 trips to the Super Bowl, 1 win, and 1 goal line dive away from back-to-backs, and then a lot of successful seasons after that. So, like I said, I mean, if you could get if you could get a quarterback for 9 years and you knew those were going to be your results, you wouldn't complain, ever.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't think there'd been any complaints there, but well. I think that's the end of our show, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll probably be back. We probably won't. Actually, Jacob and I will be in Nashville this weekend, so we won't do a show probably till next week again. But probably start next week. We'll get back into the swing of things, doing it twice a week, whatnot. We'll probably have some college basketball to finally talk about. I mean, some games actually happening. Hopefully, maybe they don't all get canceled like they have been previous to this day. A lot of good games have been canceled, but I can't imagine we'll be back this week. Do you, Jacob?
I don't foresee it, but I do look forward to talking about Michigan's big victory next week. So
Oh yeah, I guess we'll have a lot to talk about after those. After we watch Michigan lose in a bar in Nashville, then we can talk about what we think. Huh?
doubt it. Doubt it.
But
Victory,
like I said,
victory will be ours.
Oh yeah, OHIO baby, go Bulldogs.
Go blue.